Hi, my name's Neil Rondorf, and I've been asked to put together some thoughts on living in the presence of God. You know, the thing to look at is our time with God. How do we spend it? When is it? And where is it? Is it separate from the world and life? Or is it part of it? You know, can we have God as part of our life minute by minute? Let's look at Job chapter 1, verses 4 and 5. In here, Job sets up a regular practice in the event, just in case, the conduct of his children may not be acceptable. You know, it was part of his practice. Do we set God aside for most of the day and allow our lives to be distracted or absorbed by the world? My experience is yes. And I had to develop regular practices as well. I set alarms to remind me. Finally found a good use for my phone. At 8, 1, and 8. And sometimes it's distracting to my wife. But that's time I'm reminded that I got to stop and think and talk to God. You know, I have a prayer list of family, friends, things I'm worried about. If I don't have a list, my prayers tend to become self-focused. These are things that I've had to do to have real conversation with God. You know, if we look at Psalms, we really see David's emotions come out. You know, in Acts chapter 13, Luke describes Paul's description of David, a man after God's own heart, and he will do everything I want him to do. Heart and action, not perfection. In the Psalms, we see David real. In Psalm 1, first couple of verses, he talks about who he spends time with, the Lord's instructions. In order to be right with God, to be able to be that tree planted by the water that never dries up during the tough times. You know, if we go back to Job, we see him with his 3 friends. They're there with him for extended period of time, talking to him about the situation, why he lost everything, what his relationship with God looks like. You know, we all need friends like that. We need friends to inspire us in our relationship with God. In Psalm 6, we see David clearly sharing his emotions with God. In Psalm 8, he acknowledges God's glory through the creation. And in Psalm 11, we see him just taking refuge in God as a result of the world around him. Are we honest with God with our emotions? And are we honest with ourselves? You know, living in the presence of God requires change and it requires action. God describes David as willing to do. In Hebrews 10:22, we're called to draw near to God. We need to meditate on what we're called to do and talk to God about what that is. What does it mean? How do we know? Do we ask Him? Do we talk to Him? Do we ask Him to show us what that looks like? Are we looking for an answer? In James 4:8, we're told to draw near to God and He will draw near to us. Well, that would indicate that action on our part is required first. We're to initiate. We're to take action. Action reflects a commitment to do something. And we need to take that action to develop a day-by-day, minute-by-minute interaction with God so that He's part of our life, not a part of our life set aside. And then you will be the tree planted by the water that does not wither when tough times come. Now, this is not a new topic. If you study Jewish prayer, it was a very regimented thing to do. Rosary beads have been around for hundreds of years. They're a reminder of what and how to pray. But we don't want our reminders to become rituals or routines. We want them to motivate us and stimulate us in our relationship with God. So go about developing routines. That's a good thing for us. Reminders constantly what our relationship with God should look like. Good luck with that. Put some effort into it. Amen.